All right, many thanks, Joseph Hussein, for that background report. And joining us here in the studio for the conversation proper, let me first introduce Honorable Abike Dabiri-Erewa, Chairman, Chief Executive Officer of the Nigerians in Diaspora Commission, NIDCOM, our own. Welcome to Good Morning Nigeria.
Thank you very much. I haven't been here for a while. Nice to be here. Good morning.
Thank you. And also joining us here is Professor Ako Olisa Ufodike, Deputy Minister for Immigration and Multiculturalism, Government of Alberta, Canada. It's a pleasure to have you here.
It's my pleasure to be here. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. And also seated here in the studio is Kelvin Parker. He's the New York State Senator. Thank you so much for joining us. I also hear you have a Nigerian name.
I do.
What's the name?
Ifayemi.
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 That's great. And also seated here is Dr. Bashir Obashikola. He's Continental Chairman, Nigerians in Diaspora Organization, Europe. You're welcome to Good Morning Nigeria.
It's a pleasure being here.
Yes, we have unsung heroes in the studio today. Yes, this is a great opportunity. Opportunity to rub minds.
Let's begin this conversation. Let me begin with the chairman of NIDCOM. Perhaps we start by asking, what precisely is the mandate of NIDCOM? Maybe that will get us going.
Well, to ensure that Nigerians in the diaspora are engaged in the programs and policies of their home country. And we're looking at about 17 million Nigerians abroad. We're not sure, but we're working with that data. I believe we have a lot more than that. But we've started compiling data, working with our missions abroad to actually come up with what should be, but that is what we're working with. In Canada, for instance, we're working with a team that's actually getting together all the organizations, people. We're going to launch that sometime soon, and that might be the platform, the yardstick for others to do the same thing. So you showed some of them. Nigerians are excelling all over the world, and we have some of them here in the studio today. So the idea is, fine, we're excelling all over the world. How can we contribute to our home countries? If others have done it, India cannot talk about development without its diaspora. China, Pakistan, Israel. When Ireland was in recession, 2,000 Irish got together, diaspora, and saved their country from recession. So we can't have these amazing Nigerians all over the world and not do something about it. Now, President Obasanjo, as president, started the Nigerian Diaspora Organization. He wanted Nigerians to come together under one umbrella. Now, in Parliament decided to set up the Nigerian Diaspora Commission, an agency that can, truly bring everybody together. So we work with everyone in the diaspora. And the last 5 years about engaging. We can do a lot more, but I believe laid the foundation to do it. Look at remittances, we say over $20 billion. Nigerians in diaspora they've been saving the economy. But beyond even the remittances, as we engage them, investments, diaspora fund, philanthropy. We go to World Bank and beg, we get a few $1 million with conditions. IMF, we beg with a few $1 million with conditions. If we pull our diaspora together, they can do much more in a structured manner, and that's what we're trying to do. So we've had some programs in place for them, the diaspora housing, where they can sit in the comfort of wherever they are and own their own homes. The diaspora mortgage will be rolled out very, very soon. That is, they can also get a mortgage, 50 million naira. You can add to it all your own homes. The Diaspora Day, a platform to come together, share ideas and experiences, and see how much more we can do together. And a lot more return in Badagry, where we get the historic African diaspora, like our senator from New York. Yes. If you wonder why he's here, it's because he's a Nigerian. He's American, but he's Nigerian. That's why you can see.
His ancestry back to Nigeria.
Exactly. So, and they are coming for Diaspora Day too. Yes. So, engaging Nigerians in diaspora, the historic African diaspora and all that. And I believe together we can build our country.
You've been doing a lot. You've been all over the place, people who are, lost in the Mediterranean, Libya, Sudan, Congo and all that, trying to bring Nigerians home. You've talked about 17 million Nigerians out there. what about the unregistered Nigerians? What are you doing to ensure that they register or maybe get their papers to stay there? And
No, we can't get their papers to stay there.
But you know some
No,
of
but
them. What are you doing about the
what
unregistered
we-
Nigerians?
no,
Because I
we-
believe there are more than the 17
No, we
million.
shouldn't even encourage irregular migration. So we have a migration
Yeah,
minister
that's what I'm
here.
saying. What message are you sending to them, those unregistered Nigerians?
Yeah, here's the
who-
thing.
Yes.
You can, and that's the theme is Japa phenomenon.
Yes.
Let's encourage regular migration, not irregular migration. It's okay to migrate. You see them, Dr. Bashir here has migrated, is doing very well.
Yeah.
Our brother is doing very well. Many people are doing very well. You can migrate regularly, and there are opportunities. But you see, there's no point migrating and going to a war situation.
It's dangerous.
There's no point going through the desert. Look, we've brought back over 10,000 from Libya. Over 10,000. And we went into the detention centers, the most horrible thing I've seen in my life. They were packed together like sardines. And we came on television, radio. I said, please stop it. But today I'm still getting distress calls. But we're in Libya. It's a war situation in Libya. So here's the thing, avoid irregular migration. You can't go. Although you don't want to lose your younger ones, government has its own role to play. Jobs, enabling environment for jobs to be created, electricity, infrastructure, that's government's role. But for us as a people, we need to educate ourselves. 105 just brought back from Ghana, trafficked. So NAPTIP, Agency for Trafficking, is working at arresting the agents that do that. But for us at NITCOM, it's about if you do get into trouble, we are there to help. But however, we keep talking about, those who get into trouble or those who are in prison or something, and we're working with them. In fact, we're going to have a holistic thing about Nigerians in foreign prisons. There are some that there's a guy we brought back because he couldn't just pay his bill in a South African prison, and we're able to pay it for him. So there are minor cases like that, but they're big ones. You do drugs and all that, you have to serve the term. But you don't have to be there if you didn't commit the crime. That is one too. But also most important is that there are Nigerians doing something about the world. Give me one Nigerian in trouble, I'll give you 10,000.
Who are doing well.
Excelling.
All right.
So we need to celebrate ourselves, and that is why we have the
Very
diaspora.
Thank you, Honorable Abike Dabiri-Erewa. Let me get to Professor Fodike. You are well settled. You are even in government there in Canada. How would you think? She's listed a lot that has been done with the diaspora community, but how do you think Nigeria can better, deploy the resources of its diaspora community?
No, excellent question. So we talk about youth in Nigeria as an asset, and it is an asset. And if it's an asset, then, before coming into government, I used to be a professor at the university, so you'll get some professorial type answers. Some of your assets are in-house, but some of them are outside as well. Some of them, in accounting, they'll say goods in transit. But for those of us who are in diaspora, we're not in the warehouse, but we can still be an asset to the country in those places where we live. In many ways, I think she's listed some of them, the opportunities to help attract investments, the investments that we make as individuals. Part of the Nigerian safety net is actually coming from the diaspora in terms of social assistance to family members who've been left behind. And we can't also trivialize the relationships that people develop when they move overseas. That's an intangible, but ultimately when they move back to Nigeria, because I think part of the conversation over the next couple of days we'll be talking about Japada, which is bringing some of that talent and some of those learnings and some of those relationships that once established overseas to deploy it for the benefit of the Nigerian economy. And that's an intangible that's not necessarily anywhere. But if you think of some of the countries you mentioned, whether it's India, whether it's China, a lot of it was ultimately people who had moved to the States moving back. I believe more Indian grads from Harvard actually go back to India. So when they graduate from Harvard, less of them are staying in the United States. I mean, we hear a lot about those who are working in Silicon Valley, working on Wall Street, but a lot of them are coming to the United States, going to Harvard, they're taking a lot of what they've learned back home. So that's knowledge exchange. I think it's an intangible, but I think it's the most, frankly, the most important thing that we have to contribute. Nigeria is home. even when we're out there, it's, even when people criticize the country, it's coming from a place of we want better, we know we can do better. Just seeing the work that's been done by the Diaspora Commission. I only learned that they've been around for 5 years. I actually thought with, all they've been doing and their presence in the media and all the impact they've been making, they've been around for more than 5 years, but it's only been 5 years, and if they can keep tying into those of us in the diaspora, both the Nigerian diaspora, people like Senator Walker, who are Nigerian by lineage, I think we can maximize the possibilities, right, for us all as Nigerians.
Yes, and immense possibilities is abound here in Nigeria. And the Japa syndrome sort of, the younger generation feel, okay, I need to get to a better place to get a better life. But Kevin Parker, Nigeria, a lot of Americans are tracing their lineage back to Africa and are returning back to Africa, especially in Ghana, some in Nigeria, and you also have a Nigerian name. What role has the Nigerian community played in the US? Positive roles. We know we have some negative people out there. We can even Nigerians in the Biden administration,
Right.
serving the Biden administration in the White House. How important is the relationship between Nigeria and the US?
Well, the relationship is absolutely critical, and that's part of why I'm here, why I'm honored to have been invited by Madam Abike and my good friend Bobby Digi, who works tirelessly for NICOM in the United States, particularly in New York. I'm a 22-year incumbent in the New York State Senate. I'm the chair of the Energy and Telecommunications Committee, as well as the majority whip, right? But I also, in my other life, similar to my brother from Canada, was also a college professor, right? So I teach Africana Studies. I've taught at Brooklyn College and University of Albany. So I've developed a Pan-African both perspective, but then also a deep understanding and love of Nigeria and Nigerian culture. So I've been here a number of times. I'm a good friend of the Onia Ife, and have a chance to visit with him and participate in his Olojo festival. And so, that kind of person-to-person connection is what we need to increase. And so what we see already in Nigeria is with this Diaspora Day is a reaching out and saying, yeah, we accept you, and a broadening definition of what the diaspora is, to include people like myself, right, who want to have a relationship with the country, right? But when you look at places like New York, you find Nigerians in every single walk of life, right? I'll point out one that's really obvious for most of us, which is the medical field, right? If God forbid you get sick, you cannot get well unless a Nigerian sees you. They're your doctor, your nurse, your physical therapist. There's somebody in the medical field at where you're going. Yeah, somewhere, right? And so that's been an important part. That means one of the things you see even here in Nigeria, you wake up in the morning and streets are busy because everybody gets up to work and everybody gets up to contribute, and I think that mindset and that ethic is important. But I'm particularly here because I really want to develop not just people-to-people connections, but also some institutional connections between the state of New York and Nigeria. And I think there's opportunities to connect with things like what we call SUNY, our State University of New York system, our City University of New York system. I think with organizations like the Farm Bureau, because people don't think about this because they think about New York and they just think Wall Street. But outside of Wall Street, our largest gross domestic product is actually agriculture. Yeah. And I think that there's some manufacturing and food processing collaborations and synergies that we can create by working together. And also, as the chair of the Energy and Telecommunications Committee, obviously energy is a big sector here in Nigeria, as it is in New York. We're in the midst of in New York of a significant transformation into a clean energy economy. And so again, I think there are synergies that to be built in both areas and ways that we can work together. And I'm interested in those conversations and those opportunities.
So how deep is your understanding of Nigeria? We're so diverse, Nigeria is a huge country, and we so many tribes, ethnicity and all. Have you been to the north?
I have not been to the north yet, but I'm waiting for somebody to take me. So Well, we're here now, right?
This is, yeah, I mean the
So
deep
even if
north.
Abuja is cosmopolitan.
No, I mean the deep north. Because if you're in Abuja, it's like you're in New York.
Right.
But I'm talking about the deep north, like Maiduguri,
Not yet.
Adamawa. Yeah, where?
Maiduguri.
You were born in Maiduguri?
Yeah.
Oh my! I was born there too.
Okay. Understand. I don't want to this much.
Fair enough.
Yes, we're wearing
But
blue. That's what the
everything-
director is saying.
Fair
We're
enough.
wearing
But
blue.
let me ask Dr. Obashikola. Well, I'm not sure yet if it's academic doctor or medical.
Okay.
But we are at a stage. We talk about Jakpa. I've heard him say Jakpada. Well, but we're at a stage where you could almost hear whispers of who's next, who's going to be next to leave. While that bears all the good fruits that she's talked about, you also see that there is brain drain from home. And so how do we get to strike a balance so that while going out there, where you say they go there to develop, they repatriate a little back, some say it's at the expense of the country. But how do we strike a balance to ensure that while we encourage people to go and jackpada, as you put it, we also keep people at home on ground to also do what needs to be done here?
Yeah, it's a quite interesting question and logic that you put in there. Yes, countries develop by migration from historically it has always been that way. And of course, initially, I think even in Nigeria here, there was a movement to discourage people migrating. I remember, I want to check out all those type of, anti-migration policies and, jingles and all those things. But we discovered that life is, full of migration. And now that social media, all this, the world has become a global village. Everybody see what is happening in other countries, and you start comparing yourself. Oh, but I'm here, I have the similar potentials. Why don't I try the other side of the, greener pastures? All those things. So we can, but admit that migration will be. But at the same time, it's also good to let them say, okay, go and improve yourself. Go and get better. Life and, but remember home. And I think that's the essence of, where commission was created, to have that interface and may follow people up. Even when they go, they still remember them, people still bring them back, like, even people in government over there, they still, here is home, please come back, contribute. So I think that should be, combination of discouragement, in way of not by fiat here that you cannot travel out, but creating an enabling environment. Let people who are at home also feel some advantages. Say, because I'm staying back here. This is some of the privileges I'm also enjoying. So people who stay back, like medical doctors, professors, engineers, who could endure the working environment that many people are running away from, should have something that they could show to the people who have left, to say, it is because I'm back here, I'm staying here, that I could have so and so, and I think that is so encouraging people who are here is very important. Those people who find themselves outside, connect with them. So that's why it's good that even the commission has started this national award, merit awards, to give people who over there, that sense of belonging, to say, okay, yeah, we know you are contributing to the other economy, but we want you here. We encourage, we are happy that, for your sources, private and professionally, and so that's also part of it. And the other one, which I think is very important, is also this, establishing contacts, institutionally, privately, like Kevin was saying, that make people feel welcomed. Not, you have run away, because initially it's like, you diasporans, you ran away when it was tough, now you want to come back and start, that shouldn't be. Everybody should contribute. We should, transfer of knowledge. There are a lot of things that we don't value here that we have. But when we get there, we discover, oh, wow, but we have this thing. Why don't we, add value to it here? And now we, transfer that knowledge. So interprofessionally, transfer of knowledge, like professors exchanging ideas and, researchers, workers or any other person having, enhancement, supporting them. That's why Nigerian Diaspora Organization Europe, we started that type of movement, that is helping that the privileges we have being over there should be transferred to individuals, not only through government, but directly to individuals who are in need. And we've been doing that, we have been here for a week now, since the 18th, we call it a Diaspora Week in and for Nigeria. That is spending it in Nigeria for the purpose of promoting Nigeria. And we'll be doing that in going around the country, all the geopolitical zones, to help, humanitarian people who are in need, in providing, we provide water, we're giving donations to charity houses, and that is it. So capacity building, also medical outreach, and in Ilorin we had the police housing. We discovered that the community doesn't have police stations and all those stuff, or even the one they were living were not conducive enough. We decided to show government that even with little money, you could actually build a conducive environment. And the same thing we are doing also for medical cottage, the cottage health center in Igbelejika community in Ilorin, where we also renovated when we discovered the environment, and we equipped it also. So those are the things I think we make diaspora feel part of the system. And of course, we talk about involvement in in the political system also by way of voting, diaspora voting. And those are the things I think that will make people in and out of Nigeria to feel part of the system, and also feel that, oh, okay, I could be over there and work, or even people here, we could, like the Indians are doing a lot of jobs that you call, call centers. The people picking your phone, they are in India. So why don't, and we're in a speaking country, why we could utilize that? And I think it's already been done. Some of them, Google and all those things. People could be here in Nigeria, working in Nigeria, while they are working for companies outside the country. But they are physically here. That means that they contribute also to Nigeria economy.
Pardon me if I put you on the spot.
Yes.
Pardon me if I put you on the spot. Yes. Would you rather encourage? You've given me advantages on both sides and what it should be.
Yes.
If you have someone who just wants to do well at the moment, would you rather say, no, go out or stay back?
Well, I've encouraged people to, even personally, my son, a medical doctor, I encourage him to stay here to get enough knowing the system. So it is also, I know it's tough, but you can encourage people. That's what I'm saying, is to give encouragement. Those of us outside should give more encouragement to people to stay, so that we need to develop Africa.
Can I use a basketball analogy?
Yeah.
LeBron James went to Miami at some point, won those titles, and then when he was leaving, he says, "I'm taking my talents back." Home, right?
Yeah.
There you go. So
taking your talents back.
So sometimes you may have to go to
Well,
play for
we
Miami
need
for a
to,
few years. For a
I know
bigger
it's a
team.
tough
Yes.
decision
Yeah.
today, but we could do that. Try to encourage each other. Sometimes I tell the youths, because they interact with me a lot, see me on media and all that. I let them know. Sometimes we in the diaspora, sometimes I can say we regret, that we, move fast, things are tough, this and that, you move out. But sometimes you feel that you should have been here.
Yes, you left early, but you're back now.
But
You do need family at home.
At
anyway.
home,
You
yeah.
need
So
people
sometimes
on ground.
it's
Exactly.
both ways. So
You
we
need
need to
people on
encourage
ground.
people to support them.
Yeah, support.
To
When we
support.
talk about support now, let's bring in Madam Abike into the conversation. For years, even before you got to NIFCOM, you've been emphatic about people's struggles and how people are able to cope with hurt and disappointments in life. Now you have a platform that you can excel, and you've been doing that. Now, how can we tap into this expertise, resources and network of the diaspora community? Because we've seen a lot of diaspora coming back home crying because all they have has been sent home and wasted. How can you bring the awareness to them that there's a legal way, there's a better way you can invest your money in Nigeria through NITCOM, like you talked about estate management and all that. So how can you protect the diaspora and their resources? How can NITCOM
Well,
do
first,
that?
we work with various diaspora organizations.
Okay.
Senator Parker talked about Doctors in America. We have a very strong association, Association of Nigerian Physicians in America. They just left. They come all the time to give back. This year alone, what they did was worth about 500 billion naira. And we have a lot of them now setting up hospitals in Nigeria. Nobody is talking about it, but you're going to see the enormous impact in the country. In the last 2 years, almost about 10 of the best hospitals have been set up by Nigerian doctors in the diaspora. And they're doing really very well. So that's part of the encouragement. And a lot of them, when they share their experiences, like, why didn't I do it this many years ago? There's even a guy in Canada who got a street named after him, very aged, but he's back now in his older to give back. I'm not earning any money, I just want to give my expertise back. So we work with a lot of diaspora associations and groups. In UK too, the same thing, Mansag, in Canada, Campad, and all that. So it's about the engagement, really. And then, like we've said earlier, it goes both ways. We have the good, the bad, and the ugly. We have more of the good. So with the commission, it's a one-stop agency to deal with all these issues. So as you bring back those that are in trouble, are in crisis, evacuate them, you also encourage those like you to invest in Nigeria. And that is beginning to happen. And you know, one is, in the last 5 years, has been the trust factor. You want to build trust in the diaspora community. And I believe, correct me if I'm wrong,
It's working?
we're beginning to have this amazing men here. We're beginning to build that trust. It's like, okay, there's somebody I can talk to. Okay, there's somebody I can go to. Every state now has a diaspora focal person. So, Prof doesn't have to come to me. He can just go to his state and talk to his diaspora. I'm bringing $100 million investment to your state. And then you meet with the governor, you have those conversations. Housing. A lot of them have had cases of, oh, I want to build a house. I gave my brother and my sister, I want to marry another wife. And the house never happened.
I saw a man rolling in the mud, was it 2 weeks
Yes.
ago, you know, crying.
So we tell them, you don't have to. We can help in those, and we've helped quite a few. And that's part of why one of the LS things is the housing scheme. There are now diaspora cities allocated in every state of the Federation through the FHA. So just click a button, apply. As I speak with you, I think just about 100 will be getting their letters because they applied them. These are small houses, so to speak, but you can have in your state. Rather than send thousands of dollars, we can put the money into buying a house and then also investing. So when they know, okay, EFCC has a diaspora desk. So when you want to say, oh, I'm ordered, we refer to EFCC and we solve a few cases. There are some we can't solve because they are unsolvable. But we do our best. And we have various desks. Legal gets petitions every day. So we work with embassies, missions, MDAs. Ministry of Health has a diaspora desk because of the numbers of doctors we have in America. And the Minister of State for Health is now specifically for the diaspora. And we're coming up with a diaspora health scheme that will bring doctors all over the world together on a platform, on a dashboard. So you can say, okay, I need somebody in this hospital. A click of the button, you can call on them. So many things are beginning to happen. In the educational field, it's amazing. Some come home to do their sabbatical and they don't go back. And they say, listen, I want to extend it. Then in UI, we have the Diaspora Research Center, the first of its type on the continent that will be coming up. We're working with TED Fund with that. I'm told the block has just been laid. So, we'll be able to commission an African Diaspora Research Center of Excellence. We have professor here, another professor here. So there's a lot to do with the diaspora. It's the future or even the present. And even beyond our diaspora, imagine the diaspora connecting the African American, whoever you are as a black, even the Indian diaspora, all connecting together. The diaspora can change the world. And when people say, oh, you have a passion, it's about human capital development. It's about our people. they have been to many places and have, helped people in need. So imagine us encourage diaspora philanthropy, diaspora investments, diaspora giving, diaspora capacity building. Some just come and train. So all we are doing is now putting everything together. We're talking about $20 billion investments. When we put all this together, it goes to hundreds of billions in cash and time. So I thank the government of Nigeria for encouraging the diaspora. All we have to do is we've laid the foundation, build. There's a lot to do. Yeah. I'm sure we haven't even done 10% of the work to be done.
There's a move forward.
Yeah, exactly.
Thank you, Honorable Abike Davirewa. Let me get back to Professor Fordike. How would you think that the Nigerian diaspora can help in helping international relations to blossom? Is there a contribution they can make in that regard beyond expertise down home, beyond investments? What about international relations?
Well, I mean, I think I kind of went there in my earlier remarks, right? There's relationships people develop when they've lived in a country for a period of time. For example, in my case, I mean, I'm a deputy in the province of Alberta, but just as important, maybe even more importantly, is the immediate past deputy premier of the is Nigerian. The deputy premier for the province of Manitoba is of Nigerian descent. I mean, she was born in Manitoba, but she is Nigerian. And all of those individuals, are involved in government. They're on the political side. I think in the video that you played at the start, there's Wale as well, who's a deputy secretary in the United States. All of those individuals, I think, if we harness, again, their relationships, their network, their social capital that they've built in the countries where they reside, can actually help start to move the narrative somewhat. Because you're right, I mean, there's work that still has to be done in terms of burnishing Nigeria's profile internationally. There's progress that's being made as individuals. People appreciate and are starting to really respect and appreciate the value that Nigeria is to their countries, to those communities. In Canada as well, we have a thriving Nigerian healthcare network, physicians, nurses. Ultimately, it's leveraging those who are in government as well to help, start to move the needle a little bit. This mission, so prior to, sticking around for the Diaspora Day celebration, I was actually here last week on a mission. So I was here in Nigeria for work. That in itself, would be the first time any province from Alberta has actually led or been in Nigeria for a mission. So coming here and exploring the possibilities when it comes to international talent attraction and the likes. So all of those things, I think, little things, but they can all come together, right, to help strengthen government-to-government relationships and the way other governments look at, Nigerian government as well.
So how you're born in Maiduguri, you said? Where exactly?
Maiduguri. I can't tell you the street. It was a long time. I don't think they had Google Maps then.
But people are born in Maiduguri.
Well, I was born in Maiduguri.
Okay,
yeah. Let's talk about the enabling and conducive environment that Canada offers for Nigeria, because I call Canada the new destination for Nigerians. Most of them are moving there because of the enabling environment. But one question I keep asking myself is, we are a nation of immense potential, a population that has intelligent people that can excel anywhere in the world. If they can excel in Canada, become doctors, nurses, bankers and all that, what does our government back home need to do to ensure that some of these talents stay here and don't leave? What more do they need to do to make the environment conducive for people to excel just like they do when they go abroad?
Yeah, I think we have an excellent education system. I went to public school here in Nigeria. So I went to Nigerian Military School, Zaria. Went to Command Children's School down to Kuru Road. We moved to Kaduna eventually. I do not know anyone of my generation that went to private school in Nigeria. We all went to public schools. A lot of those physicians that the Honorable Abike Dabiri has referenced went to public school in Nigeria and are able to pass the most complex certification exams in the United States and the United Kingdom and in Canada and get to ply their trades over there. So I would say that the foundation really is creating a strong education system. So it starts with K to 12, university education obviously as well, but that foundation, so kindergarten through grade 12, it is not necessarily a negative, right? We live in a global economy when people again leave and come back, or leave and maybe do not come back. Borders are permeable, and that's okay. We think of the exchange of trade primarily in terms of goods, but when people leave, they're providing services, right, as well. So if we think about it, we live in a global world where professionals want to move to whatever jurisdiction where they can ply their trade and be the best, and it's okay, maybe make the most that they can as well, because that allows them, the disposable income that they can use to invest, they can use to give back, they can use to contribute in other ways, really fund their passions, right? I'll say most people might not be doing their passion for work. They want to work so they can fund their passion. Yes. So encouraging that movement, building a thriving and a really strong education system so that when people leave, if they choose to, but if they stay as well, which I think is the question, they can obviously help strengthen, the social fabric of Nigeria, but also the economic contributions as well. I'll maybe leave it on this note. When I went to school as well, we got to interact with people from all parts of the country. It was multicultural Nigeria, right? So I think an education system where people are encouraged to explore the country. I mean, go to school. I'm not sure if the federal, government college system still exists.
The unity schools.
If they're not thriving, I'll say, that's an investment that needs to be made. Maybe that's an assignment for the chair of Nigeria.
They're not thriving as they should.
Yeah.
Yes, as they should.
Yeah. So just fundamentally, it's strengthening our education system so that people who are here can succeed. But potentially, maybe they can also succeed if they choose to look beyond
the borders.
Believe it or not, we had actually this similar problem in the state of New York, right? And so we're here, it's somewhat, people going to other countries. In a country as big as the United States, it's people leaving to go to other states. And so although we kind of work collaboratively as a country, but there's still competition between, especially neighboring states, right? And so we found it was kind of like two populations, right? One, entrepreneurs, but also young people. And for young people, there were kind of two specific things. One were economic opportunities for them, but the other thing is the housing market, right? Which may not be as big of a deal, but in the state of New York, housing is a critical issue. And what I'm hearing globally, that prices of housing is going up. So to the degree we can figure out ways to provide housing, right? So that, you graduate from college, you get married, you're not living in your parents' basement. This is what happens in New York, right? And then for entrepreneurs, it's really about opening up pathways for entrepreneurship, right? And, I know, several, Nigerian entrepreneurs here.
You have the largest concentration of Nigerians in New York.
Yes. Well, yes. I think it's between us and Houston.
I think it's
Houston, Texas.
Yeah,
yes,
Houston may have a larger, and then Atlanta is also coming up very, very quickly in the United States. But the issue around providing entrepreneurial access is important, right? It's important in New York. I know it's important here for entrepreneurs I've talked to here, of saying. And I don't want to be critical of the Nigerian government because I still want to be here for a couple more days. But no, but all of us have a part to play. And I know in New York we don't do as much. Like in New York, our big issue is regulations. Is we just put too many barriers on things and too many regulations on things that don't allow businesses to be able to operate the way they need to in order to have a kind of profit that you need, and not just to have a lifestyle, but then also, again, entrepreneurship, even in a place like New York, small business entrepreneurship I'm talking about, right? Now, we like to think about New York or America particularly as like large corporations, but the vast majority of employment is actually done by small businesses. That is, businesses with less than 100 employees, right, and less than $2 million in sales, right? So that's where people are like making, creating full-time jobs at a living wage, right? And so those kind of opportunities, both again for young people with access to economic opportunity and housing, and then for entrepreneurs in terms of pathways, contracts, maybe with the government, local or federal, all become ways that we keep people who have those talents here or attract people back because they see there's an opportunity for them.
Okay, let me ask Dr. Bashikola, what are the typical issues that Nigerians have when they relocate? And I'm not talking about irregular migrants now. I'm talking about regular migrants, of course, maybe those who went to school and opt to stay back and all of that. What are the typical issues that they have? And how do those who have been there offer help? Because the better they settle, the better they are established, the better they can contribute to, whatever diaspora fund that you are pulling back home.
Yeah, that's a good one. Of course, we know, like I mentioned, social media, encourage people to move. Some being deceived or trafficked, or But at the end of the day, of course, some find their way out of those situations. And we try to, first of all, discourage them from, irregular migration, of course. But those who find themselves there, we also, try to, give them leeway. That is, how can you, change your situation? Of course, part of it is knowing that they need skills. So, and one of the things we do, our coming in is talking to the children, that, don't keep living dream life without, setting up the blocks that will take you there. Because education is very important, skill acquisition. Europe and I think most of the countries in the world now are getting older, and they need workers. So if you find yourself there, if you don't have something to offer, you become nuisance to the system. Of course, they now become subject of deportation and all those stuff. But if you find yourself with skills, you can quickly adapt to the system. So adaptation through skills that you acquired from home. People we call artisans here, all those things, they are highly paid over there. But you need to be well prepared. So part of the educational system here, I think, should also be, giving people skills. Not only the certificate. Education. Yes. So it's very important, and those things help when you go out there and you want to adapt. So quick adaptation comes from what you can offer the society where you find yourself. The other one is, of course, is to discourage this get rich quick attitude, because some people get into crime because they see somebody, I want to be rich, or they get to themselves in what we call 419, all those type of vices or prostitution, all those things. So I think we also have to have some, what we call orientation of people's minds, that you can get rich or get better for your life, through a normal way of, acquiring and getting adaptation to the system. Because the more we have nuisance in society, the more the people, the local people. I don't know if you follow sometimes all these elections, you see the far right parties winning elections because anti-immigration policies of those parties, and those things are common because of what is behavior of some people. Yeah, people will say, we don't want the migrants, they are criminal oriented, they are this, they are that, they are taking away our jobs. But if you know that you are actually in the right path, you will quickly be, get yourself a well-placed places. You see Nigerians now, we're talking about people in polity.
But what skills would you encourage? In different societies?
Everything. That's what we discovered. Everything. People will say organizers, roadside mechanics, all those things. People, if you improve yourself on it, you get, that's why being on social media should not be only for entertainment purposes. You could actually be training yourself on bettering what you are doing. And so when you get there or get anywhere, you see the enabling environment, like we say, providing enabling environment. Of course, if you are not prepared, how do you use those equipments? So these things that they lack here, I know when they get there and they see those equipments, and it makes them faster. That's why you say, oh, wherever Nigerians go,
They
like the medical
excel.
dog, they
Because
sell.
they've already learned
Because
the hard way.
it's hard work here.
The hard work is here. So when you get there and you have the equipment around the environment, you move faster.
Yes.
And the people get, marvel that Nigerians are here. And but the foundation is there, and the hard working and the passion that you have drives you to be faster. So those are the things that we as organizations over there also encourage people. So when we come back here, we also let them know that please don't say, oh, I'm going to japa sometime, but you japa with something.
With something.
So you should educate yourself well, prepare yourself well, and you have that opportunity that comes to you. So you will be able to grab it when the opportunity comes to you in terms of being there in a vital environment. So those are the things that...
Yes, you also require skills. And let me bring Prof here, Deputy Minister for Immigration and Multiculturalism, Government of Abuja. Some people get a 1-year visa, 6-year visa, or 2 years visa, move to Canada, and they don't want to come back. What is the support system for people who want to extend their stay there and sort of become citizens of Canada? What procedures do they need to follow? Because I heard somebody tell me that if you have a 2-year visa, you can stay there 6 months, come back to Nigeria. It depends on how in and out you go. So what kind of support system do you have for Nigerians who are in Canada right now, maybe on a 2-year visa, who want to become citizens? What do they need to do?
Right. So immigration as a construct is a joint area of constitutional responsibility between the federal government of Canada and the provincial governments when it comes to economic immigration. When it comes to visitors, students, anything humanitarian, so asylum seekers, family reunification, that's 100% federal. So having said that, I work for the province, but I'll just comment on that quickly. So it's a federal government of Canada responsibility, not a provincial responsibility. If you're there on a visitor's visa, I'll say visit and then go back home, right? Don't try and become a resident through that visit.
Yes.
It's also untrue. When you arrive, you're given 6 months. Or if you're given 6 months, it's also untrue that you can stay there 6 months and then go and leave, because I think there's been a change in purpose at that point in time. At the time the individual applied for the visa, I imagine they would have declared their intent was to go visit families for 2 weeks for a wedding or something and come back. There are so many routes to regular migration, so that's not irregular because they came on a visa. But if they now end up, some of those individuals actually go they go declare asylum. Now they're going the irregular route. I mean, when it's not for a legitimate purpose, right? There are so many legal routes to migrating to Canada. I think you nailed it when you said, people are coming. I think last year, 2023, if I have my numbers right, 40,000. So there's 40,000 people who, doing their job here, did not seek visitor's visa, found a formal and proper way, regular route to immigrate. So I'll say, if you come on a visitor's visa, you likely have someone there. You have a head start. Adaptability should be easy. You have family members who can help you with settlement services when you arrive. To your previous question, right, around what do Nigerians in diaspora do for those who move there, right? Settlement services, right, helping people find a home. Sometimes credit is an issue, first and last month rent, indemnifying them, from their landlord against, the likelihood that they might default on their rent. So if you have someone there, you're likely going to adapt, you're likely going to settle easily. I'll say return after your visit, and then if you like it enough, please apply for permanent residency from Nigeria, right? As opposed to exploring ways to keep extending the visitor's visa. Canada welcomes 485,000 people. That's the target this year. Next year is going to 500,000. Nigeria is now the fourth largest provider of permanent residence to Nigeria. So there are so many possibilities, through the formal routes. I'll also add that Nigeria is the number 2 country for international students. So come as a student. If you like it enough, apply for your master's, apply for your PhD. When people come there and they graduate, they're given an open work permit. On a visitor's visa, you don't get a work permit, but now you have an open work permit. And
as a student, on a student visa.
That's right. And then after you graduate, so on the student visa, master students and higher, they have a work permit. But I'm saying when they graduate, so there's some countries you go to as an international student and they want you to leave when you graduate. In Canada, we do all we can to retain people, because I talked about adaptability. Who's more adaptable than someone who came to school, did their master's, graduated? So there's policies in place to try and do everything to get those individuals to stay. And a significant portion of the permanent residents that we accept every year are actually former international students. So that's what I'll encourage those individuals to do. Apply for grad school, or come back home, keep doing what you're doing, that great banking job and IT, and then ultimately apply for your permanent residency.
I think we'll go on a break very shortly, sure. But perhaps later on when we are back, perhaps you want to tell us what are the things that usually stop people from getting visas, because that's where illegality or irregularity comes into play. Maybe along the line you'll be able to tell us what people should do by the time you apply and what you shouldn't do, so that you broaden the chances of being able to move legally and regularly. Let's pause here for a break, and when we return the conversation continues. This is Good Morning Nigeria on the network service of the NTA, and we've been discussing the 2024 Nigerian Diaspora Day. But while I remember giving you a question to hold for me, let me quickly get to Kevin Parker. So what, are the typical expectations of host governments of Nigerians when they, come there, to ensure that they do the right thing and not the wrong? Because I know sometimes, innocently, the things you do here in Nigeria, and maybe everybody just smiles and we get away with it. You could do it there, you're in trouble. What are the expectations typically?
Well, I think a lot of what we've heard about what happens in Canada is similar, right? It rang very true for me, which is part of it is doing things the regular way and making sure you're kind of following the rules. I don't find that necessarily that we have a big problem with people coming there and just getting into trouble, because they don't necessarily know the culture. A lot of things that we need to do better in the United States. We do not have a clear path to citizenship. I joke that you can be twins, get on the same plane, alive in America, and both twins, Taiwo and Cayenne, they can have different statuses, right? And so that's something that we really need to fix. I do think that there is a lot of support around, what's been called settlement services, around helping people find places to live, helping people find employment. In New York, there's always work in places like New York, right? And so I think people have been able to come there and adjust fairly quickly, in part because there's always, some kind of access to economic opportunity on various levels.
Okay, talking about economic opportunity, you hold that question still. Let me come to Madam Abike. The diaspora remittance plays a huge and vital role in supporting national development, and their impact, should be recognized and leveraged through effective policies and initiatives. What kind of policies and initiatives do you have on ground to ensure that this remittance, comes back for the development of the country?
Remittances actually are more for sending money for education, for healthcare, to take care of my family and all that. So we are even saying beyond remittances, we can encourage investments. We can encourage a lot more than just remittances. So remittances, you're not even capturing the informal ones. Dr. Bashakola probably bought $10,000 from friends and relatives who said, let me give this to A, B, C, D.
Yes,
and I'm sure same thing with Prof. Give A, B, C, D. It's not even captured. formally. So remittances has helped our economy, because when you look at the remittances, even much more than revenues of some states. It's about almost 6% of our, So we're even saying beyond that. And the CBN, comes up with policies that encourages you to transfer your money through the formal route. But beyond even that, imagine 1,000 diaspora putting $1,000 or $10,000 together
Each.
and saying, okay, we want to invest in Medicare, we want to invest in SMEs. And that is something we're going to do, having the diaspora come together and look at small-scale businesses. You can invest in, a few people that can run small businesses that will generate a lot of jobs. So we have a few things in place to encourage such things. Like I said, one is even having this conversation, building the trust, attracting, the caliber of the diaspora that we're beginning to attract, coming home and all that. And then INCOM itself has a diaspora policy, which was ratified by the Federal Executive Council that guides all our diaspora engagement. So it's what we try to implement. It's going to be reviewed every 5 years. And so we have a policy document to guide all diaspora engagements. And virtually every MDA is involved in implementing diaspora policies and projects. Even what Senator talked about is of doing business. We have to make life easier for those who genuinely want to come and do something, not frustrate them. So there are cases where there was somebody who wanted to bring something to a university. A whole lot of equipment got to the university and was frustrated. It was like the head of the institution looked at the person and said, you want to take my job? If you bring all this, you are taking my job. The lady had to take it to Ghana.
Our loss.
Our loss. So if we had known, we were not even, maybe just at the baby stage, that we get involved, we ask, I'll let you know that it's not a competition. And another challenge is this. Some Nigerians in the diaspora come, there's resistance.
Yeah.
Oh, you think you're better than us?
Because you've come Obodo.
Yes, you've gone, and then you come, hey, baby, how you doing? I come from America. They don't want, so we try to make it clear that nobody's better than the other person. Let's capitalize on everything we have. We are Nigerians, we're the best, wherever we find ourselves.
Yeah.
So Nigerian abroad is coming home to willingly do something. Let's encourage them. And that is why, like we said, we have diaspora focal persons, we have us, we have the, even the diaspora organizations too, that we work with. So the policy is about implementing what we have now, and then facing the challenges that we have.
What
As
are the
NIDCOM,
challenges? Yes.
we still don't have an office. 5 years on, we're managing here and there, better funding, continental offices. It's in our policy, it's in the law that we should have these offices. So if you have a continental office for the Americas, it's easier to engage. And you're not doing consular service or visa, everything. You're engaging. You're saying, okay, this is what you want to do. I connect you immediately. So those are still some of the challenges we face. But again, you don't talk about challenges. Let's talk about solutions and keep working at it.
All right. So I left you a question earlier. We're talking about, we're talking about regular migration. For instance, I'm going to move to Canada. I first need to get a visa. It's when it becomes difficult, people start saying, how do I go? So what do people need to know, in applying for visas so that they can get it? What are the do's, what are the don'ts?
So, I'll say the first do is only get your information from the Government of Canada's website. I find it interesting that people feel the need to use agents. Somebody who's here with them in Nigeria that isn't in Canada. I think it's not unreasonable to assume that he or she cannot help you get to Canada when they haven't done it for themselves. All of that information is on the public record. There's a website where you can go in, you can put in your skills, put in everything, your degree, your age, pretty much your own bio data, that even if you were engaging with a lawyer or a registered immigration consultant, because you do have registered immigration consultants that practice immigration in Canada, but the process for applying for immigration as an individual, I think, can be done by most individuals. If you're coming as a business immigrant, because we do actually accept investors as well, then it's a little more complex. You might need help. So you complete your assessment. It will tell you what you need. You have to write the IELTS exam. You need to get your degree evaluated through. In the province, we have something called International Qualification Assessment Service. There's also WES as well. It doesn't matter who you use to evaluate your credentials. You plug it all in. It gives you a score. It's like writing an exam. And then you can also look at the past cutoff scores. And if your score isn't there, then you have to find ways to start improving. I know people who are taking French because we reward them. If you're bilingual, you get more points. There's people who are taking courses in Alliance Française. I actually know somebody who went and learned French and successfully passed the French exam and got enough points that was required to immigrate. So start by creating this baseline, get everything evaluated. If you have the scores you need, you apply. It's only a matter of time. Sometimes, in Nigeria, they say, honorable, surulere. I mean, it's okay to be patient. So sometimes it's only patience because people are interested in coming to Canada from all over the world. It's not just Nigeria that they're processing visas from. But the starting point is rely on government information, create a baseline. If you need to improve your scores, you can tell where you need to improve them. Go do that.
But there are the unspoken ones, the ones that are left to discretion, where it just looks and says, from this guy's application, my gut feeling tells me this guy just wants to jackpot.
So the visitors, I think you're referring to visitors visa. But guess what? Canada does not process visitors visas in person. It's all based on documents. So you apply online. So unlike the US, I do that. You have to attend an interview in person. So there's human-to-human interaction. The country has tried a lot to make the process objective. So objective being documentation, right? So it really comes down for visitors visa is really providing very strong documentation, right? And if the documentation is tight, I think it just improves the chances of success.
Okay, let me bring in Dr. Bashir here into the conversation. Europe is the worst hit by illegal migrants, especially through Libya, through the years going through Spain. And we've seen a lot of devastation on the sea where a lot of Nigerians die or are put in prison, like in Libya, where Madam Abike has been, going to bring them back home. So if they end up getting access to Europe, what kind of support system do you have in place for people who come in illegally, or maybe they are kept at the Spain border and not allowed in, and coming back to Nigeria is also a problem because they can't follow that route again. They will die on the high sea. So what support system do you have for Nigerians who migrate illegally to Europe, and when they are captured, do you get information that they are there, and what do you need to do to ensure that they are safe even if they are going to be deported?
Because Europe is, neighbor to Africa, so people, think the access is closer. Even that's one of the reasons why many people are deceived. Like, you just get to Libya, you cross to as if it's,
as if the desert is not there,
exactly, or Mediterranean is not there. So, of course, when they eventually, if they find themselves alive and got to Europe or somewhere, of course, mostly have been camped by governments of those countries where they can apply for asylum or all those type of status they want to. Sometimes it's difficult because some of them, because they know what we're doing, they are doing, I'm not saying some of them throw away their passport, so you cannot even identify who is a Nigerian, truly Nigerians, or all those type of status. Of course, embassies trying all those identification processes, and maybe by name or by any other means to identify is this person really a Nigerian or not, giving them all those attention that you. So, but as non-governmental organizations and social and cultural organizations, of course, we do have those type of contacts with some of them, giving them support while they are in the camp or in the camp, either deportation camp or asylum seeking camps or those type of things, or people you find, some of them maybe on the street, trying to find something for themselves. So those type of interventions do happen. We also try to get some of them orientation, like I mentioned earlier, either to say, okay, but you are potential, you are educated, you are this, why don't you, try to become, students or, start education or so. Some of them are lucky enough to say, okay, they apply while they're there, submit all their documents, but they have to travel out. But then traveling, and they know they will be able to come back now regularly. So those types
they have been identified as people with potential.
Exactly, with potential. Some of them used to such advice and come back to Nigeria, go and apply, because already you know that, okay, you have this opportunity of coming back as students. So those are also type of intervention. Also, we, like I mentioned earlier, that we get some of them also to realize that it's not also green. You don't, the grass is green. It's not exactly. It's not as easy. So better think properly. Either you will continue to be here and be a nuisance, or you go back to Nigeria, to actually settle down. And some of them actually do. So especially those girls who are, deceived to come and become something else over there. Some of them come back and now even more experienced or more than they were, because some of them were just like naive from villages or from all those type of settlements that they don't have access to moral information. So those type of intervention, we do have them, but mostly they are local organizations, local churches. Some of these churches also help over there to, to get people out of their miserable situations, to say, okay, you can have a better life or better situations than you are now.
Well, Senator Parker, as we gradually wind down this conversation, you haven't managed to tell me if you chose the fire me yourself or someone chose it for you. But by the way, do you know the meaning?
I do. It means one who is befitting of their destiny. I actually have, again, I mentioned, back in New York, I'm an Africana Studies professor. One of the things I've been studying is cultural continuity and the connection between, people who are African American. Like, when we call ourselves African American, what is the African and African American? And in part, it's led me to really get in depth with the Yoruba culture, in part because they were the last people group to be brought in enslavement, right? So to the degree you can find cultural continuities in the Western Hemisphere, and I'm not just talking about the U.S., but even the Caribbean and places like South America, you find it amongst the Yoruba, right? And so that's part of what has brought me here several times to places like Ile-Ife.
You're a Yoruba
Ibadan.
man now.
So I've gotten around.
So you're protected by Shango, yes.
Yes.
Okay, Madam Abike.
Orumila, but yes.
By far, yes. So Madam Abike, we're rounding up with you now, and like he said, there are a lot of Americans or blacks from across the world who want to relocate back to Africa, who want to align themselves with the Africanness, the beautiful Africanness we have. So what are you doing to welcome them if they want to come? I know there will be a lot of investigations and research before they come. So how easy are you making it for them to relocate back to?
They want the Nigerian passport.
Oh, wow.
They are saying we are Nigerians. We want the passport. And we received how many last week? Almost about 13. And they are saying, listen, we've done our DNA that says we're 60-something percent.
Even Megan is,
exactly.
Nigerian.
So they are saying, how can we get our Nigerian passport? And that's the conversation we're having. But the answer is that it's a constitutional matter. We have to amend the constitution. They tell me, Ghana gave 150 Americans their passport at one fell swoop. Well, that is Ghana. But Nigeria will work out something.
Will it be part of the conversation?
The Minister of Interior is the decision, is a constitutional matter. But in welcoming them, our doors are open. And like I said, we also have the door return in Badagry, October, 3rd Saturday of October every year, and it's an emotional, spiritual, physical, economic connection to the continent. That is a very emotional one. They walk that path. I'm sure you've never been there. No, where our ancestors really walked. You're going to see what really happened. They take the walk. And then as they take the walk, there's a place you're going to get to where before you get to the ocean, they'll just give you a drink. You think it's water, but it's poison. So you're poisoned. So before you get to the boat, you cannot resist. It's really something every human being should experience. You wonder, how did they survive?
I saw that in Roots.
So you will now not see it, you're going to walk it
Walk it.
and feel it. It's there in Badagry.
Okay.
And yeah, so as we mark the Diaspora Day, we just look forward.
We're wrapping up, but I want you to take a moment, just a moment, to tell us. You see, the much you've been able to do is because you are the visionary. I remember how in the House of Representatives you pushed tirelessly for, this NITCOM Act to come on stream and all of that, and eventually you got your wish and got the grace to be appointed, its pioneer and head and all of that, and you still are. But what is in place for sustainability? Because someone else who is not a visionary will come, of course, with different ideas, which is not a problem.
Yeah, I've seen many visionaries of the diaspora vision, and I think we've also trained a whole lot of people that can, but the most important thing is to set that foundation. I think the foundation we're laying, we can't go back. I don't see that happen. Even the NIDO, the organizations, they are visionaries too. So we've been able to, take it to a stage where I believe all you have to do is move forward, not backwards, because we're talking about our people, the best in the world, wherever you go to. In fact, the saying goes, a country where there's no Nigerian, there must be a problem with that country.
You got to leave that country. So if I know.
All right, Honorable Abike Dabirerewa, Chairman, Nigerians in Diaspora Commission, NITCOM. It's been a pleasure having you on the program today. Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you.
Let's also quickly thank Professor Akolisa Fodike, Deputy Minister for Immigration and Multiculturalism, Government of Alberta, Canada. It's a pleasure having you. Thank you.
Pleasure is mine.
And let's also thank Kevin Parker, New York State Senator. Thank you for your time and thoughts.
Thank you.
And finally, the last but not the least, Dr. Bashir Obashikola, Continental Chairman, Nigerians in Diaspora Organization, Europe. Thank you very much for sparing us this time.
Thanks, it's a pleasure. Happy National Diaspora Day.
And that's Good Morning Nigeria for today. Thanks for giving us company. I am Juma Yusuf.
And I'm Victor Azu. We'll see you again tomorrow.
NTA, you can't beat the rich.
Wow, look at that. Until recently, I had no idea what a pangolin was. Man, this thing is